Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the AI Show. How's everybody doing? Tell us who you are, where you're coming from. I'll side of the eye. Side of the eye. Side of the eye. Take a look and say hello. Surly Dev! I wish I had a sound effect. Maybe I do.
Surly Dev!
I don't know if that's this. Is that the sound effect? Coming to us from the beautiful country of England. England. I think I want this one. England! There you go. Thanks for coming, bud. It's good to see you. Where's everybody else coming from? Side of the eye. Side of the eye. From London, do you know Surly Dev? Side of the eye. I love England. My wife has cousins that live there. In Oxford, actually. The place where Harry Potter went to school. Is my understanding. I'm going to turn my fan on. Harry Potter went to school. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Let me share my screen. Entire screen. What do we got going on today? This was my, you know how like, I don't know if this happened to you, but during the pandemic, so long ago, it feels like it was ages ago, but it feels like it was yesterday. You know how we bought stuff because we thought we, quote, needed it? This is my pandemic purchase. A Wacom tablet. I use it every Monday on the AI show. You know, sometimes I use it to explain stuff and draw stuff. But let me tell you what you got going on today. Number one, my friend Naomi. She's going to be talking about smarter model system. It's pretty cool. And it's stuff that I like. I mean, not to tease, but it's stuff that I've been showing a lot, but she gets into it a little bit better, and I'm just like, oh, good. Thank goodness someone's here to show me stuff, and she's awesome, by the way. We did it in one take. She's so good. And then number two, we have my friend James here, and we're going to be looking at scaling. Oh, jeez. I'm going to fix this. Okay, I'm going to write it so good. You're going to be like, wow, he has such good penmanship. Scaling, I couldn't do it. Multi-agent AI apps with, and then this is the important bit, so I'll write this really nice, Cosmos DB. By the way, I do some demos, and I use Cosmos DB all the time. We need to get back to like, we need to do like when the Build It Stuff show. So this is what we're doing, scaling multi-agent AI apps with a Cosmos DB. So those are the two things. We'll do this right after our little intro. And then this will be top of the hour. We'll get to James and scaling multi-agent apps with Cosmos DB. I wish I had a side. Let me see what else I got. Scaling multi-agent AI apps with Cosmos DB. Yeah. Okay. That one's not the one I wanted. I have a new system of buttons that I've been using. Hence, I have to look down. You know, I've realized my eyeballs are getting worse. So apologies for that. All right, side of the eye. Who we got? I was like, no. I know. I'm just, you know how like anytime I go anywhere in the world, I'm like, oh, I used to live in Nevada. And they're like, oh, do you know Steve? I always just answer to surprise them. Yeah. Are you kidding? Steve and I go way back, but I would like to. Nice. See, I told you, everyone's friendly. Still working his way through the toilet paper. Yeah. For us kids, or you kids watching, we went through a period of really thinking about, like, do we have enough toilet paper for this? Like, we were literally thinking, we're gonna run out of leaves. We're gonna have to go to leaves in the backyard. I don't know what our thought process was during that, but that's literally what happened. It was weird. Okay, so I think Naomi's here. Naomi, you here? Let me look around. I'm looking side of the eye. I see her here, but I don't see her face. She's really cool, by the way. I've known her for years. I keep saying that about people that show up on the show. I think it just makes me sound old. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, here she is. Let's get her on. Here she is.
I am here.
You are here. I see you. Every time someone, but I have known you for years, right, Naomi?
Yes.
Before you were on our team, you were doing such cool stuff, and like, oh wait,
we've been through the whole journey, Seth, when AI was for crazy people, all the way through to machine learning, and then all the way through to actual AI, and now massive implementation of it.
I know.
So, yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Like, here's a dude. He said this. Surly Dev, I don't forget, doing AI since before it was cool. Yeah,
exactly.
For those who don't know, I started doing machine learning in 2008. That was before ChatGPT. There was such a time.
I know. It's horrendous to think that through, isn't it?
All right, so how about this? How about we? I'll stop this and I'll queue up our video, and then for those that have questions, we'll ask them. So just for those that don't know, what we usually do is we record something beforehand, we play it, and then we have like our actual reactions. Because so let's do this. I'm gonna get it queued up here, and then it's gonna be good, and then we'll get some questions going after that. Ready, set. You're not gonna want to miss this episode of the AI Show, where we talk all about smarter model system with my friend Naomi. Make sure you tune in. Hello, welcome to this episode of the AI Show. We're talking all about the smarter model system with my friend Naomi. Naomi, how you doing, my friend?
I am doing great, Seth. It's been awesome. It's been amazing to be on the AI Show with you. Thank you.
And you know, we worked together on other things. Now that we're on the same team, it's even cooler. So why don't you tell people what you do on our team?
Yeah, it's been amazing. So it's definitely always a pleasure to work with you, Seth. So yeah, I have the privilege of running the Foundry Models team. So within Azure AI Foundry, I run the models team that actually brings to life many of the amazing things that we have in the model catalog to make all of that new technology available to our developers and building their AI apps on top of it.
And that is where all of the party is. I mean, fundamentally, like if we get down to it, it's the models that bring all of the magic, in my opinion. So probably one of the most important things. So let's start with this. And maybe you'll have context to set, but I want to ask this question. There's so many models, I get lost. How can I be smarter about this? Why don't you set some context and maybe show us some stuff?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Seth. I hear this question all the time, right? So it's amazing. There is such a plethora of models out there, and we want to bring you even more and even more and even more, right, for your specific use case. But the question is, of course, like, how do I actually find the things that I need? So I wanted to walk through just a couple of things that we have in terms of improvements for the model catalog and just showcase just a little bit about what's going on there as well. So I think it'll be super helpful to look at.
All right, can we go to your screen? Let's see if we can get this up here. Let's get this up right here. There you go. We got it.
That's awesome. So first off, I just wanted to introduce you. If you haven't been to the model catalog before, you're going to go to azureai.foundry and you'll be able to see it there. And then across the top, I just wanted to draw your attention to a few things. So across the top, we have this announcement stripe here. And this announcement stripe just basically has, here's all the latest models that have been added to the catalog that are specific ones that we want to call out to you. And of course, you'll see some big hitters in there like GPT-5. You'll also see the model router and also the codex models and context, which we'll talk about in less than a minute. And of course, just today, we actually launched Mistral Document AI as well. So it's really awesome to see. So I always draw your attention to those things across the top if you just want to see what are the big newest releases that we have.
Okay, so that's cool.
You might be looking at the rest of it. Yeah, sorry, I was going to go through just a couple of things here. So
okay.
Like the leaderboards and other pieces here. So
no, I love the idea of like, if you don't know what's new, start at the top. Okay, exactly. So that's the first thing. Okay, cool. What else we got? Sorry to interrupt.
It's all good. No, it's all good. So leaderboards. So these are big things here. So I get so many questions about this from our MVPs and many of our developers out there of like, how do I actually compare and contrast all of these different models? And so these leaderboards are really your friends, right? So you want to think through like, what do I want from terms of quality? What do I want in terms of cost? What do I want in terms of throughput? And so being actually able to check that out, you can actually change these out and see which one of these models. You can see, for example, DeepSeek R10528 is right here. It's high in quality. You know, maybe you want to think about the different options for how things are being costed as well. And then these, importantly, are the trade-off charts, and you can select your own models as part of this too. So you can add additional trade-offs here. So if I want to check out like what kind of performance do I get for what kind of cost, I'm able to do that as well. Now, importantly for our enterprise developers as well, we have a lot here in terms of understanding content safety. And so we have here, you can see the harmful behavior. You can look at things like knowledge in sensitive domains as well. And so, how the model is talking back to the user and what kinds of areas that it's able to conduct conversations around. And then you can also just check out like how it's being benchmarked on all of these other different behaviors like information retrieval, coding, and reasoning, etc. So lots of really good stuff here to be able to explore. And so all of that is available in the model catalog and is under the leaderboard area.
That's cool. So before we go to the next part, so leaderboard is like general things, but then here's I'm like spitballing here, Naomi, because you're the expert here. Like I feel like those are really good general metrics, but then you need to go into like your task specific stuff and then do other testing too, right? It's not like this is going to be 100% for your specific thing every time. Am I getting this right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we do have a bunch here around our scoring methodology here. So these are general benchmarks, right? We're trying to look this across a number of public evaluation services, but we want to make sure that you have access to that. And then you can go down and sort of tweak what you need as part of that too.
And I love you. I was going to literally ask like, okay, I see the quality and the cost and the, but I want to compare these things. And I saw that you're able to literally compare them because I don't know. We've been in software for a long time, and it's like good, fast, cheap, pick two, kind of thing. And so I love that you're able to be like, hey, if we're super sensitive about X or Y or Z, then we can be less sensitive about the other. Like if we really need to be super smart and super genius at general tasks, that's probably going to cost more, but that's okay. I love the idea of being able to do this kind of costing.
Exactly. And so this is just a great way for folks to be able to explore how the trade-offs look, right? So oftentimes you might start with the most expensive model, if you will, right? And then over time be able to refine your scenario to be able to accommodate maybe a model that's less expensive, but has just a similar amount of quality that you need for your particular use case. And then, of course, all of these different metrics that are available as well. So these are all available to explore too.
Oh, this is so helpful. Like I've gone to this page so many times and I'm like, because I've done them in demos, like in keynotes, but I've never been like, let me understand this specific thing. So this is super, super helpful. All right, what's next?
Okay. All right, and that's next under here. So the first thing I want to draw your attention to is, yes, as you mentioned, there is lots of choice in here, right? Models, you can see 11,152 and counting every single day. But that's awesome because, again, we want to bring you the choice, right? We want to bring you the best of the open source models, as well as our partners from Hugging Face, and then, of course, from our preeminent partners like OpenAI, Mistral, Black Forest Labs, Meta, etc. So lots of folks that are coming as part of that too. And so you'll see some of the newest models that we have available. For example, we've got things like Grok available here, as well as Black Forest Labs. And you can actually narrow this down. So you can see here, I'm going to point out specifically the direct from Azure category. And so this is where our Azure OpenAI services live, but also the amazing ecosystem partners that we have, essentially the flagship models from our ecosystem partners. And you'll see these available here. These are available for serverless deployment and the similar service to how we offer Azure OpenAI. And so we have XAI's models from Grok. We also have Flux from Black Forest Labs. You'll see Llama in here, as well as DeepSeek. And then, of course, MAIDS-R1, which is a variant of DeepSeek that Microsoft produced. And then our newest lineup, which just came out today, which is Mistral Document AI. So I always encourage folks to look. There's 54 models in here. This is a great way to say, okay, I want the best service that Microsoft can give me, or that has transparency and responsible AI, or guardrails applied to it. These are the models that you can really look at from that perspective.
So here's a question. So direct from Azure means that we have our team making sure that they work on the service.
Exactly.
And
So
then,
we've onboarded them, we've brought them to market, right? And they are basically, Microsoft is your partner here to deliver this service.
I love it. And the other ones would be like, hey, we have amazing partners that have a way that they want to deploy and do their things. And that's also good if you are partnered with them as well. So is that the distinction?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So you can think about this as kind of a great way to transact with folks and the extensive ecosystem marketplace that we have. So for example, we have industry AI models in here. You'll see things from Bayer, you'll see things from Hist AI, HLS models, etc. that are available too. And so there's lots of goodness here. Page, Rockwell, those folks, Sight Machine, all of these are industry specific ones like manufacturing, automation, those kinds of areas. But then you'll also see incredible stuff from Hugging Face. So, lots of the top models from Hugging Face are coming directly here. So we have an amazing partnership with Hugging Face. They bring us the best of the open source world, so you can have it and run it safely and securely on top of Azure and your platform. So just really awesome to see. And so some of my favorites that are in here right now, I love this. Parakeet is one of my favorite voice models. So great set of work there from NVIDIA. And those are available right now to use too. So really cool to see this, and it gets kept up to date very often. So just awesome to see.
This is cool because I think one of the things that I don't know, I'm a traditional machine learning guy, and there's like models that do really cool stuff that are not large language models, but that do other stuff. And it seems like some of those are in here that do very specific tasks that use kind of transformer. They're all kind of transformer-ish models, but it's really cool to be able to have a set of options on things that you can do. How do you differentiate? Like, is there like a way to know what kind of tasks you can do with this?
Those are great questions, of course. So, if you want to look at these different areas, you have the inference task drop down here, and this helps you out. For example, audio generation, right? I can easily select for what I need there. Embeddings models, I want to bring that one up in particular. So, for example, Cohere has an amazing embedding model that's available, and so you can use that one straight from here as well. And that transacts directly from the marketplace. So you're transacting with Cohere, but you're basically running it on Azure as your hyperscaler of choice.
How delightful. This is cool.
So lots of goodness there. So I wanted to show you a couple things there. So within that model catalog, right, that keeps increasing, keeps getting bigger, and we'll have even more improvements on it over time. Of course, we want to give you as much choice as we can across open source and proprietary models, and make sure that you always have access to the models that you need for your specific use cases.
Yeah.
But I wanted to show you a couple of new things. So I want to show you just a little bit about what we've been doing with GPT-5 and, of course, Black Forest Labs after that.
All right. So I want you to, let's get GPT-5 because you brought a demo and I want you to talk through it. So let me get this up and going so people can take a look. So GPT-5, here it is. Let's talk through this.
Yeah, so it's a great set of demos here just to show you what you can do, even just in the power of Playground. And so first off, I wanted to point out some differences. If you've been using the GPT models before, especially 4.1, I wanted to really showcase what are the differences here. So I gave this a very generalized prompt, right? And so I said, hey, you're a senior technology consultant, you're working on an RFP, right? You're busy trying to get some business here, and make sure that we have a great one-page proposal as part of that. And you might be saying, okay, yeah, that. I know that, many of the reasoning models can deal with this, but I wanted to draw out just a couple things that really make it different with GPT-5. First off, you will see actually the ability to plan out this ROI table, right? So it actually crims through, it shows you assumptions, it gets into the real specifics of this area, and then it's also very instructive about how it frames that out. Now, I've asked it to take that same one pager that it's generated and then looking at how we actually put together a 15-minute meeting, like how do I think about, rationalizing this with the CFO? And you can see here the difference is when it's responding back as opposed to in 4.1, that it actually says very specific statements. It's not just, driving around the area, but instead is actually saying, hey, the ROI and the cost, and here's how it's calculated out. And it's giving me that specific and reasoning rationale that isn't present in 4.1. And then, I said, hey, go ahead and keep going with this, right? Give me a 90-second opening statement here. You can see that it's got lots of personality. It brings in that fact-based reasoning in here too, and actually then helps to tailor it to that specific audience. And then I'm going to negotiate a little bit of risk as part of this too, right? That CFO that I might be talking to is very, risk averse. And so I want to think about how I handle that. And then how do we think about maybe the ejection that comes as part of that too. Again, GPT-5 taking that extra level of thinking time to think through, like, how is it going to compose this? And then how does it actually draw on the facts that it proposed earlier, bringing that directly in here and getting into specifics as opposed to sort of warm generalities that we might have seen in some of the previous versions of foundation models. So I just wanted to showcase that. And then the last piece of this is like, hey, go write me a Python script, because it's not just about the amazing reasoning capabilities that we have in GPT-5, but also the ability for us to make sure that, can we generate some great code out of this too? So now that I got my proposal, hey, go write me a Python script so we can actually go dig into some of the migration costs in this proposal and make sure that it's able to calculate that out as well. So you'll see it generate out that Python code that I can then go instrument into my different experiences. And then I can even run that, of course, directly from Playground in that view code button, and it will pop up and bring up all of that information. So lots of great capabilities in here. What do you think, Seth?
Yeah, as this is going, I think it's really cool that we have a model that can, like, I use these models and because I don't want people to think that this is going to replace humans. I use it to augment myself, because I'm a better speaker than I am an actual writer. And so if I can speak some stuff into Word, or I can speak some stuff into an application, and then this can sort of smooth things over, kind of like the grammar check of the 1990s for those that are old enough to, it kind of helps me clarify. And so it's really cool that it can clarify my thoughts. You can target it to specific, directions for thoughts, because there's many ways, and then you can actually even also like get into like coding with it, which is really cool to me. And so, like, I love the idea of having a model augment what I'm doing, because how, I don't know, I have a way of thinking in my head, but doesn't translate for other people to understand. It's kind of cool to have an LLM like GPT-5 to bounce ideas off of, to clarify, to look at code. Are there any other things it can do other than that, or what other use cases have you seen?
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of greatness on how the reasoning model itself can be used. There are several components within GPT-5. It really is a family of models, right? So there is Mini, and there's Nano, and there's Chat, and there's even more experiences that are coming as part of that. And then GPT-5 itself can also do tool calling. So it calls back to Image Gen 1, for example, to help generate images in there too. And so there's a couple things I will mention. So, being able to use the Chat model is a great way to have, very fast responses in there. The Mini and Nano ones are amazing at like that task base that we need very quickly, and being able to run that in a very fast operational method, right? When you have a specific type of use case. I've also seen the reasoning models do really well with medical knowledge. And so that's the other piece of this too. So if you're in any of those kind of domains where you expect more specifics around, maybe it's from pharmaceuticals all the way through to medical knowledge, then you're being able to use that as part of this too. So lots of goodness.
So the GPT-5 one has built into it tool calling to call other models. So it has like implicit orchestration via tool calling. kind of situation.
Exactly. So yeah,
That's
and
really
that's
cool.
just kind of amazing to see too. So yeah, and then one thing I will mention really quickly is the ability to do model router. So part of the release that we had, we also made sure that we could have a model router that goes across all of these different models too. And so that's like another cool thing to be able to show, and making sure that the model router can actually go across the GPT-5 models as well as the previous instantiation of models too. So please do check out the model router too. I was going to try to bring up my screen really quickly just to showcase that in case folks missed it on the first demo there. But we have the model routers up here at the top, right? So this is the cool one, and be able to actually go across all of these different GPT models. So instead of you having to figure it out, hey, just let the system do this too, right? So you can support all of these different models and you can see even more. So going
And
across
GPT-5 is in there now too.
Yeah, exactly. Released the same day. So cool.
Oh my goodness. I need to have this one deployed and use it. Like, thank you for that. And so there was one more model though that's new. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, so I wanted to show just a little bit more on the image side of the world too. So, because there's lots of goodness that's happening, of course, and images are really important as part of this. It's really how we communicate, isn't it? So we spend a lot of time with text, but image is great. And so Black Forest Labs is one of our newest partners that's come direct from Azure. And so you can see here, I've asked it just to create a logo for my team, right? So the Foundry Models team, I asked it to put in, futuristic logos, kind of blues and purples, and you can see what it constructed, right? Notice how great the text is on this one, right? And
yes, and that's the thing that usually gets messed up.
Exactly.
This is really cool.
Yeah. So I thought that's just a great simple use case there as well. And then, I wanted to go into kind of photorealism, right? There's lots of things going on in the world where we need to have great stock imagery. What if I could just generate that automatically, right? And so Context Pro here, I've asked it to envision what the Foundry Models team looks like. And just check that out, right? There's really, these folks look real to me.
Yes,
right?
there's not like no 8-fingered people and legs coming out of arms.
Exactly. So, pretty accurate there. But, I want to refine this even more because, you can't really tell, like, is this actually in Redmond and Seattle area, right? It's part of Microsoft. And so I've asked it to actually go ahead and try to, subtly change the difference here of like what's in the background of those windows. So you can think about it as part of being a Seattle. So we'll see that appear. And notice that it has not changed the people. I think it's really important to notice here. Like you can see that it's changed the view out of the window, subtle, and it is Seattle in the background there. And then, but it hasn't changed the folks here. But now I want to reinforce it more just to reinforce where we are in the Puget Sound area. And so I've asked it to put a picture of Seattle on the wall without, of course, changing the people and, causing issues there as well. So you'll see it add that in there directly here too. And again, just preserving that information through these particular turns of generation here. The in-painting capabilities here on Black Forest Context are really, really amazing. So you can see what it's done here. So it's cool, right, to see this put this great picture of Seattle in there. And obviously, I'm putting very simple, basic prompts in here as part of this too. And of course, just to reinforce that, it's something to do with Microsoft here, I asked it to put a Microsoft t-shirt on some folks in the room as well. I didn't specify whom. I just made a very general prompt, and you'll see it generate that in just a second. So just being able to, change again what people are wearing, but not actually changing the person.
Oh my goodness.
This is kind of amazing too. So I just thought this was really great. And then one last prompt, of course, just to reinforce like how this is doing it here, is basically I'm going to ask it to change out the table. Hey, I don't really like this wood table, so let's change the table without changing the people, and make sure that that table can change into whatever I might need. And so, in this case, I'm going to change it into a metal table, and I'll show it in just a second. But this is great for all the folks who are creating, stock photography. They want to be able to modify this for their particular backgrounds or colors or anything else. Maybe they want to have different images, right, and be able to tailor this to different demographics or different markets that they're serving their retail products in. So I just wanted to showcase a little bit there, Black Forest Labs context model.
Oh my, that is amazing. Here's a question, because I've used the GPT image ones. Is it basically like you have to pass it the image, like there's probably code in there, but you pass it the image and then give it a prompt and then it edits that last image? Is there a way to like do masking for this one, or does context not have that?
Yeah, so there is masking in there. So the in-painting, that's the thing that has really blown me away about context, has been the in-painting and the ability to take in. So like I can bring in a single image. We hope to expand that to multi-images in the future as well, and then bring that in and then have the in-painting with face preservation on it. So it's just been really amazing. And you can remove backgrounds. You saw me, change up the background for Seattle, etc., without changing the rest of the photo. I just think that's kind of amazing.
I love it. Well, I've taken so much of your time. Sorry, we nerded out here. Where can people go to find out more?
Hey, of course, I want you to go look at the Foundry Models Overview, check out the different kinds of models that we have. So that AKA link is up here, Models Overview. And then, of course, go to Azure AI Foundry. Go build your amazing applications at ai.azure.com.
Well, it's always a pleasure talking to you, Naomi. Thank you so much for spending the time with us, my friend.
It's been awesome. Thank you so much, Seth, for having me.
And thank you so much for watching and learning all about smarter model systems inside of Azure AI Foundry. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care. How about them apples? Is Naomi still here? If she is, that's great. She'll pop in when she can. That was absolutely fantastic. Oh, there she is. That was amazing.
Well, thank you, Seth. You're incredible as well.
There's
easy to do it.
there's two questions. The question is it possible to automatically embed images, tables, text from PDF and use this vector store in a different project? I think that might be I feel like that's like a question for James coming up next.
I think so too.
I also took by the way, I remembered about this Context Pro model, and there's a demo that I do. I want you to know this. And as I was watching the video, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go deploy it. I went and deployed the model, and I'm gonna test it out for my new demo. So I just want to let you know that it inspired me to move up to Context Pro. So I've already deployed it in my project and everything. It took literally like 3 seconds.
Amazing.
So
amazing. Yeah.
All right. Well, Naomi, thank you so much. We'll see you hopefully at another show where you can explain all the goodness again.
I love it. Thank you so much, Seth. It's a pleasure.
Right. We'll see
Hopefully folks will be engaged on the catalog. Awesome.
Right. We'll see you. Bye. Okay. That was amazing. She's so good. My sound thing turned off. Let me turn it back on. All right. So we're gonna get James on. James, you ready to go? Thumbs up. James. Okay. So we are here. Here's James. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, good, Seth. How are you?
Fantastic. So we're going to be talking a little bit about how Cosmos DB helps answer questions like this one.
Yeah. I think we have some good context and good content set up to help answer questions like this.
All right, so let's do this. Go ahead. Sorry, you were saying.
No, go for it.
Yeah, so I think let's do this. Let's play the video. We recorded it. It was all one take. It was not like usually for people. Like there's sometimes people can just show up and then do it live, but it's nicer to record. And so in this case, we recorded. And then for folks, questions, get them on in the side and we'll answer them right after. So let me get this going. This is, I'm pushing the wrong button here. So we're going to talk about beyond the prototype, scaling multi-agent AI apps with Azure Cosmos DB. Here we go right now. You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show. We talk all about beyond the prototype, scaling multi-agent AI apps with Azure Cosmos DB. My friend James, make sure you tune in. Hello, welcome to this episode of the AI Show. We're talking all about beyond the prototype, scaling multi-agent AI apps with Azure Cosmos DB. How you doing, James?
Good, Seth. Really excited to be here with you today.
So tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I'm a product manager in Azure Cosmos DB. I lead product for our query engine, as well as a lot of our AI investments, like different retrieval methods like vector search and full text search. So my head is always in the agentic application space and what developers are doing and what they need to build great apps.
And this is cool because, like, look, betwixt us friends and maybe the people watching, there's a lot of like, here's how you build an app, but they're all like fake apps, shall I say, in the sense of like, this is kind of a cool toy app to understand. But building real production systems with this stuff has got to be difficult. How does Cosmos DB help?
Yeah, so I mean, as you know, Cosmos DB is this global scale cloud native database, right? That some of the world's largest customers run on, right? And so when you have a database that has those enterprise ready capabilities like high elasticity, auto scale, 5 nines of reliability, it really weighs down this foundational data platform for you to build your applications. So as you go from POC to small scale to enormous planet scale applications, you can still use Cosmos DB in its core setup. It'll scale right along with you.
Yeah, when we talk about planet scale, like if you let's just say I built the coolest AI thing ever, it's more than just the demo, right? Because scaling this thing actually requires you to do things differently, and these things have to scale, right?
Yeah, absolutely, right. So you have to think about not just how much data you're going to have in the database, but what those transactions look like, what the volume of those transactions. So if I go from having vector search for RAG from just a couple queries per second to maybe 100 queries per second, 1,000 queries per second, I have 10 million vectors to a billion vectors scale, right? So you really need to sort of think through your partitioning and data modeling strategy for how you're going to be able to maintain high performance, high accuracy search and retrieval, really as your application evolves.
All right, so you brought some slides. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so let's take a look at how some customers are actually building real life applications, agentic applications using Cosmos DB, right? So we have Toyota that has a multi-agent RAG pattern, right? So they have multiple different sub applications that are using multiple different Azure resources depending on what they need for that particular agent, right? So from having models that they need to index data from, say, SharePoint, where they use Cosmos DB and SharePoint and Azure AI Search, to applications where they need really robust reliability and performance, where they use Cosmos DB by itself and leverage our native vector indexing technology powered by Microsoft Disk-A and Vector Index. So it's really a great example of Toyota really using the right tool for the right use case to enable their own employees to find the right data that's sort of spread around the Toyota organization.
And this is interesting because I'm looking at this, and it's showing how Cosmos DB can be used in different ways to do retrieval augmented generation. Like, for example, I'm seeing there's embeddings with the vector database version of Cosmos DB, but you may be using, like, for big data, you may just be using it as a query something kind of thing, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Right. So it's the same instance of Cosmos DB, and it can even be the same container or database. But you're storing chat or session history inside Cosmos DB, in which case there's different retrieval patterns, and maybe I want the last 10 items of our conversation that we talked about to bring the context to the large language model. But I also maybe just want to do RAG or vector search powered RAG over some set of documents or a set of operational data to really find the right thing at the right time for my LLM.
So this is really cool because, like, I think what you said, if I'm hearing right, is that this may even be the same instance or same database, but used in different modalities with different documents and different databases.
That's absolutely right. Right. So Cosmos DB is a schemaless database. So you can have data items or documents that adhere to one configuration for one use case, and then adhere to another schema, if you will, for another use case, and have that flexibility to have multiple scenarios supported even in one container.
And by the way, if you don't know, like, I don't know if you know this, but when I was James, when I did the demo at Microsoft Build, we actually used Cosmos DB to store some of our settings, some of our prompts, and so it's really a flexible way of actually doing stuff. Now, is there a way? Can you show us something that you built? Because I know obviously we're not going to be able to look at Toyota's code, but is there something you can show us that can give us a sense for what this actually looks like in practice?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me fast forward a little bit here. I'm going to jump over to this workshop that actually we created for developers to go and try to use Cosmos DB to build multi-agent applications themselves. So we have this, what we call our multi-agent banking workshop. There is a track where you can use .NET and semantic kernel, or a track where you can use Python and LangChain and LangGraph. Essentially, you're building a multi-agent application. The scenario here is around banking applications. You can have different agents perform different banking tasks. And then this leverages Azure OpenAI, Azure App Service, leverages application insights, and importantly, Cosmos DB to manage the statefulness of the agentic application, to manage the chat history of the application, and to also manage RAG. So it does vector search over some key banking offer information as well.
So let me take a step back and I'll put our faces on so people can see. So effectively, Cosmos DB is not only managing like the information store, or what is sometimes called long-term memory, but it's also storing the thread, the conversation, which is sometimes called short-term memory. Am I getting the nomenclature right? And is this accurate?
Yeah, I think so, right? So the short-term memory you can sort of think about as like the chat history, like what you chatted with the agent not too long ago. Long-term memory could be something that is much longer in the history, or it could be something that's even across sessions or across threads, right? But you can use Cosmos DB to store all sorts of memory and do all sorts of complex memory scenarios. We just show a couple of examples here in this workshop.
I see. But so to distinguish between long-term memory and short-term memory, there's also the notion of like just general knowledge that could also be in Cosmos DB, that all three of those can participate in this agentic kind of application.
That's absolutely right. So we have a specific container for, say, chat history. We have another container where we're capturing the state of the agentic application. And we have another one for knowledge. So this is like, what banking products does the banking agent want to try to sell me or try to offer to me if I'm trying to solve a problem?
Yeah, what a cool way to think about this. And by the way, if you're not thinking about your application this way, thanks so much, James, for showing us and telling us. You have different kinds of memory that these agentic systems can access. And what you're showing us here is that, if you're having a hard time putting these in multiple places, you can actually use them all in Cosmos DB, short-term memory for chat history, long-term memory for stored history and chats. But then you can also like store vector-based embeddings to pull up larger documents to do standard knowledge retrieval. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So let me show you an example here of actually what this looks like. So we have this application, right? So here's a really a quick example of like what like chat history would look like in Cosmos DB, right? So you can see that in our application, it's a multi-tenant application. So we've designed it so you can have multiple tenants or multiple banks in this application. We have multiple user IDs, so we can separate out the threads or sessions by individual users. And then we can see like text that was said by this user, right? So what's the balance of this certain banking account? And then any other metadata we want to capture about the experience. And so we go through this, we see every turn, everything the customer said and everything that the LLM said is captured here for chat history. So we can use it to ground our model again later, right?
I see. And you would use the session ID to get the array of things and then sort it by date. And then you can do it like this is great. This is an example of short-term memory that can be pushed to long-term memory to be like, hey, I called you the other day, and you could totally bring this up and be like, oh, I totally know what you're talking about. This is really cool.
Exactly. And you notice that here we're maintaining session and tenant ID as part of the document itself. But if I want complete isolation of my tenants, I can do that also, right? I can set up a different container for different tenants, or I could keep them all in here and set up my partition key in such a way where it's keeping them separate. But we can see that in this application, we have multiple different containers with different items. So we actually have checkpoints here. So if you're familiar with LangGraph, there's this notion of checkpoints. So you can capture the state of your agentic application, right? So you may want to capture the state if your application suddenly crashes, right? Or suddenly dies or has a disconnect. You want to be able to bring up the agents in the same state that they were when you last had them. And we have an integration with LangGraph that does just that. It captures the statefulness and brings it to Cosmos for storage.
This is great. Like I said, here, let me put my face up. One of the things that was cool for me when I was debugging the application is that I was able to run a local version of a Cosmos DB as in dev mode. Are all the best bells and whistles in there? Can I do vectors in that one too?
Yeah, so there's usually a little bit of lead time between when we have advanced features available in Cosmos DB to try and when we have it available. And I think the emulator is what you're talking about.
Yes,
right?
that's the word. That's the word.
Yeah. But we do have a free tier of Cosmos DB. So every subscription is entitled to one free tier, and you get all the bells and whistles with that free tier. And then, of course, we have our serverless option, which is incredibly cost effective and actually really good for those POC applications.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because like in general, like the notion of a free tier is awesome, because kicking the tires, if I got to kick tires and I don't like the tires, I don't want to pay for them, right? Kind of thing. And I love that the ability to do that. And like I said, I've used Cosmos DB to store all kinds of cool stuff, like from settings to an app, chat conversation history, and now you can actually vectorize a lot of this stuff to do so. So let's take a look at some of the code to see how this is implemented.
Right, so we basically have a fast, so this is the Python implementation. So we have a fast API server running. We're using LangGraph to compile our agentic application. And this is just a really simple way of surfacing this through a fast API application, right? Now we have examples for each of our agents, right? So this is our transactions agent. So if we want to do banking transactions, right, we can define our tools here as simple functions, and LangChain and LangGraph make it really easy to surface those as tools for our agents to use, right? And so in this workshop, you can actually see some best practices for how to structure your tools, how to write prompts using a prompty package in Python for your specific agents to ground them and make sure that they're doing the right thing in the right way. And then we even have tools for things like how to execute different searches in Cosmos DB, like the vector search that we talked about, or how to retrieve the chat history. So there's a lot of really good best practices that are in here as well. And of course, since we're just doing a POC, when you deploy this, and by the way, you can easily do AZD up and deploy all the resources into Azure and have it all set up for you.
Nice.
It uses Cosmos DB serverless, so we really focused on making it really inexpensive and really easy for you to get started and walk through all the steps to developing this application. And once you have deployed it, you get this nice little interface here. So you can choose a multi-agent baking application. You can choose your user, and you can choose your tenant, right? So we talked about this in the multi-tenant fashion. And here I can see my other chat sessions that are here retrieved from Cosmos DB, right? So if I click on this one, I can see the previous conversation I had. This is not stored in memory. This is all stored in Cosmos, like resurface here for me. Or I can go back and start a new chat conversation here, and I can say something like, "Tell me about my bank accounts." And this is powered using, I believe we're using GPT 4.0 here. So this is telling me, okay, it's hitting first my coordinator agent, so it's going to ask me about what I want to do, and it's identifying that I want to ask about my bank account. So it's going to transfer me to a different agent, so I can ask about balance inquiries, right? And so now I can say, how much is in account ACC3? We'll let that run, and it'll come back to me and give me the right answer here, right? So it did a lookup for my account in Cosmos DB and got the number, so $200, and it's surfacing it to me, right?
And here's the thing, like, if you're looking at this, I can see, like, it feels like it made a mistake. I don't know if it did or didn't, because the coordinator went twice. But the cool thing about this is because this thread is stored in Cosmos DB, there's like a replayability of being able to see what happened, how did it execute, and then maybe even what went wrong during conversations. And so this chat data is gold for fine-tuning models, for seeing what went wrong and all that other stuff. This is great.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I think the core agent coordinator here is more of a UI thing potentially, because it was able to answer the question effectively, and that balance tool is only available to the transactions agent. So, but we can go and do a little debugging. But you're absolutely right? Like storing that chat history and session data, you can do all sorts of great stuff to improve your models, improve your applications. And for something like a banking application, you probably want to record it anyway for auditing purposes, right? So
yeah,
really great use cases there.
Yeah, and I've been to, like, in London, I've been to the tall buildings with the bank folks, and the reality is that with regulated industries such as healthcare and these, it's important to be able to write this stuff down and know what actually happened, see what decision processes happened. This is absolutely great. So let me where can people go to learn more about this stuff?
Yeah, so we have a couple links that we can share. I think we have an AKMS link here where you can go and check out some of the new search capabilities that we launched at Build this year. So we GA'd our full text search capabilities. We have numerous integrations, including with Azure AI Foundry Agent Service for thread storage. And we have a lot of cool stuff with like link compatibility for vector search and for full text search if you write your applications.net. A lot of really new and nice advanced features. One of the things we also launched was this notion which we're calling sharded disk ANN, right? So disk ANN is a vector indexing technology that allows Cosmos DB to be super scalable and super cost effective with vector search. Well, now we're doing it in a way where you can actually build multi-tenant apps and have those applications, have those tenants have their own individual vector indices by sharding them on a tenant ID. So essentially you can have very scoped and focused vector search that's very cost effective in your multi-tenant applications, just in one Cosmos DB container.
That's impressive. And then obviously, like, this demo you showed isn't just like a demo, but it's also something that you can go and build today using this GitHub AKA link. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go check out the workshop, and like I mentioned, there's a .NET and a semantic kernel path, and then there's a LangChain, LangGraph, and Python path.
Well, dude, we need to have you on more often. I love the practicality of this stuff, because sometimes all of this stuff feels a little black box-y, and I love the ability to use a single source of knowledge that can do multiple different things. And then the other thing is, if you're using Azure AI Foundry, all of this stuff can be integrated together, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, we already have a first-class integration that went GA at Build for thread storage in Cosmos DB, so you can give it a try there.
Amazing. Well, James, thank you so much for spending some time with us, my friend.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Seth. It was a blast.
And thank you so much for watching and learning beyond the prototype. And this is the key: scaling multi-agent AI apps with Azure Cosmos DB as the backend. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care. All right, James, that was awesome, bud. We got some questions. You okay to take them?
Yeah, let's do it.
First off, my friend Shah from London's like, wow. I mean, all I can say is, thank you. Yeah, that's what he wanted to say. He just here's a question: Can you run a local version of Cosmos DB? I know we have the emulator, but Cosmos DB is known for scale. And but tell us about this. Your answer to this.
Yeah, right. So Cosmos DB is this cloud-native database that's exactly as you're saying, is known for scale, is known for geo-replication. But we do enable you to develop some applications locally using our Cosmos DB emulator. So you can go ahead and give that a try. We have basically two flavors of the emulator right now. One is a bit more full-featured. It's our traditional emulator that runs on Windows. So you'll need to have a Windows machine or a VM set up and Docker as well. And the other flavor is our new preview emulator. And this is what we call our Linux-based emulator. So you can run it on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. Runs really, really fast. You can go ahead and give that a try for your development features as well. Again, it's in public preview right now, but you can give it a try and give us feedback. We're really happy to hear any feedback you might have for us to improve our emulator experience.
I did not know that. There's a new one. I've been using the old one, man. Holding out on me. I know it's preview, but I like to live on the bleeding edge. Here's Paulo Cesar Ramirez. I'm planning on an IoT solution for logistics with a chatbot for the users of the solution. IoT updates data each 30 seconds. Do I need Cosmos DB plus SQL Server or just Cosmos DB? I mean, I guess it depends, right? I mean, that's all.
Yeah, I guess it depends on your use case, right? Like if you have your data stored in sort of a very structured or relational manner, you're expected to do sort of analytical queries on that, right? SQL Server is really great for that. We do have a lot of customers that build IoT applications on Cosmos DB. I think, as I mentioned, we have like thousands and thousands of customers building these chatbot or chat history scenarios on Cosmos. So it probably depends. I probably need to know a little bit more about your situation, but I think you're going to be in good hands whichever path you choose.
Yeah, and I love the idea of Cosmos DB since it's cloud scale being like from an IoT position, because IoT is can be chatty and you want it to be that way. But if it's a fire and forget and put it into Cosmos, put it into somewhere, Cosmos will work great. But if it's a fire and do analysis, maybe SQL Server. But it really depends, right? I'm just trying to get flavor. I wanted to get your sense on what I just said.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it really depends. And, it also depends on what sort of analytics you're doing, where you're doing those analytics, right? So for example, in Cosmos DB, we have mirroring into OneLake with Microsoft Fabric. We actually have in preview Cosmos DB natively integrated into Fabric as well, right? So you get all the benefits of like Cosmos DB in Azure, but then your data is automatically replicated in OneLake, so then you can go do your analytical jobs on there. So there's a lot of like different combinations depending on the use case. But you're exactly right. Like IoT scenarios are very popular for Cosmos DB because of our scalability, our instant elasticity, and also because of our geo-replication capabilities as well.
That's what I was saying. Like if your device is in Asia, then firing it to somewhere in Asia is faster than having to put it into like Oregon or whatever. Incredible. So one agent can activate. Yes, agents can call other agents, because agents at the fundamental level are just functions that have agency and can do stuff. So yeah, absolutely. And then there was one more question from Carnegie. Where can we learn more about and we gotta do the walk-off music here because we're running out of time. Where can we learn more about the multi-tenant Cosmos DB support? Is there corresponding sample and workshop?
Yeah, so the workshop that I presented actually has some examples of multi-tenancy in Cosmos DB, which is great. We do have some great articles in our Learn docs as well. And I think we're going to get together again, Seth, right?
Yes.
I'm actually going to do a deeper dive into scalability, partitioning strategies, and multi-tenancy for these AI workloads in Cosmos DB.
Yeah, and like we always, I mean, betwixt us and whoever's watching and whoever watches the video, we tend to like super index on, and it makes sense. We super index on like, wow, the models are super cool. But getting them into applications requires you to really consider regular application type stuff with the AI bent. And that's what you're going to help us do a little bit, right?
Exactly. And that's sort of the differentiator of using Azure databases with these AI features like vector search and things like that, is you get all that sort of core goodness of the scalability, global distribution, and low latency. And then you get these great AI enablement features on top.
Well, so can you give us a flavor of what you're going to talk about next time?
Yeah, so next time, what I'll probably do is I'll segment out things into sort of the three broad categories that you should be aware of if you want to use Cosmos DB very successfully from small scale to large scale. So we'll talk about our different provisioning models. So we have a serverless model, we have manual throughput, and really we have this auto scale capability with instant auto scale, which is great. We'll talk about how to be successful in your data modeling strategies, right? So no SQL database, there's no schema. So how to structure your data models in the right way for the type of workloads you want to do. Vector search, full text search, is it multi-tenant applications? Talk about partitioning and indexing. And then we'll have a special segment and Socium Code all about how to optimize your different search workloads for either cost savings or performance or accuracy.
Well, we gotta get that one scheduled. We gotta get that one scheduled as soon as we can. James, thanks for being us, my friend.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for having me, Seth.
And we'll see you next time, buddy.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right, my friends. How about them apples? See, we try to drop the knowledge every AI show because I don't know. Amongst us friendy A, there's a lot of flashy AI stuff that people show, which is great. But then it's like, how do we translate the flash into the productive in our software? And that's what this show is all about. And so in that spirit, next time on the, I don't even know what it is, Rhiannon, one of our producers, she's so good. She puts these things, so we're gonna find out. Oh my goodness, yes, I remember. We're gonna talk about Model Context Protocol and Azure AI Foundry Agent Service with Linda Lee. And then we're also going to do we're going to do something, unlock the power of small language models with Kinfi Lo, my friend. I think he's in Korea or in China. I don't remember. But Linda is awesome. We actually already did this one. I remember it now. And so we'll make sure to get them on. Okay, and again, thank you for coming today on the AI show. What's most important to us, honestly, is what are your questions? So I'm thinking of a way of you being able to submit questions, and so that we can play like your question live, and then we can answer it, or maybe a small video of y'all. So I'm thinking of that, and maybe we'll because we've had double headers now for the last like couple of months, which is awesome, and sometimes we may not, and I think during those times maybe we'll build stuff because I have thoughts on how to build stuff as well. But again, thank you so much for spending some time with us. We know your time is valuable, and spending it with us is a joy and a pleasure. Thank you so much for being with us, and hopefully we'll see you next time on the AI Show Live. Take care.